And we want to keep that going. We want to make sure that we're growing the number of hospitality and tourism jobs in WA. So firstly, today we're announcing a package of measures which will go to supporting this great sector of our economy. Firstly, a re-elected WA Labor government will be introducing a $12 million package to boost tourism and jobs in the Perth Hills and Swan Valley. Businesses like Hainault rely on people from Perth and from interstate and overseas coming up the hill from Perth to take advantage of the incredible sights and experiences that we have up here in the hills. And we know one of the best ways to draw tourists to these sort of locations is to have destinations, places where they can go, things that attract them and excite their imagination. They come up here, indulge in these experiences, and then come to a great vineyard like Hainault, might grab a lunch, and then of course taste some amazing wines. So we saw the enormous impact that the Wellington Dam giant mural had in Collie and the local tourism there. In fact, with visitation is now up more than 70% in Collie simply because of that great giant mural. And we want to replicate that success here in Pickering Brook. If re-elected, the WA Labor will deliver a new mega mural at the Victoria Dam in Pickering Brook to drive tourism and create jobs here in the hills. Just like at Collie, it will produce a new iconic destination. And we see people travelling literally hundreds of kilometres to go see these sort of these spectacular displays. And we're really looking forward to it, providing a great boost to the community here. We'll also invest in a new soft adventure tourism attraction at the Kooyong National Park. Coorong National Park in Pickering Brook. This will be a competitive funding process to secure a tourism operator to deliver things like a tree climb, rope courses or treetop walk in that beautiful part of Perth. To the north of here, we'll deliver a new sculpture trail in the Swan Valley in partnership with Form. You'll all remember the incredible success of the Giants of Mandurah Trail. Literally dragged thousands of tourists into the Mandurah and Peel area. So we'll be putting together this sculpture trail, which will excite and ignite the curiosity of visitors everywhere, and they'll come up here to enjoy the opportunity that provides. We'll deliver important upgrades to Bells Rapids footbridge in Brigadoon as well, and we'll kickstart efforts to open up more of the Swan River to tour operators. One of the key ways for that is a commitment that we'll make to clean up the river in those areas to make them more navigable by small tour operators bringing vessels up into that part of the Swan River. And further south, we'll establish a new guided rail bike experience along the disused Jarrahdale rail line, opening up a new tourism experience in the Southern Hills. Now these things are basically bikes that ride along the actual rail line itself, so someone can just sit there, pedal away and experience the great bushland which surrounds these heritage rail lines. These new attractions will bring more visitors to the hills and the Swan Valley, keeping local businesses pumping and keeping local jobs growing. And that's the key element here. It's an economic opportunity. Tourism is a great fun industry, but it's a serious part of our economy. And that's why we've made this important $12 million commitment today. So, moving on. Second, if re-elected, WA Labor will deliver another tranche of liquor reforms to cut red tape and to support local businesses. We'll permit venues to open on Good Friday and Christmas Day and Anzac Day from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. without the requirement of serving meals. We'll increase the capacity of small bars from 120 patrons to 150 patrons, meaning that more bars will be captured by the small bar licensing arrangements, important arrangements which have seen an explosion of small bars in Western Australia, and of course was one of the initial reforms that we made to our liquor licensing arrangements when a young fella called Mark McGowan was the Minister for Liquor and Gaming. And we'll remove the requirement to renew extended trading permits. So a bar that has an extended trading permit for a specific type of event in a local venue will not have to reapply for that extended licensing arrangements every time that event is triggered. It will simply be an arrangement that's in place. These are common sense measures that will create jobs, cut red tape, and support local bars, clubs, and hospitality venues. And finally, we'll double the state's contribution to the wine import-export. We'll double the state's contribution to the Wine Industry Export Partnership Program with up to $6 million to grow our wine exports, particularly to the eastern states. The partnership with industry was a 2021 commitment that we made at that election to promote WA wines across the world and over east. It's been a huge success, has provided a great opportunity for vineyards in Western Australia to continue to promote their products, to look at those export and interstate trade opportunities. And we're going to extend this program so that we can keep our wine industry strong throughout the challenges of throughout the opportunities and challenges of an expanding and increasingly competitive global and national environment. By doubling the contribution, we'll help more WA wines to get back onto the shelves in China and, of course, over east. That will mean more jobs for our local wine industry and a stronger economy in the Swan Valley, Margaret River, Albany, and other great wine growing regions. All up, this is an $18 million investment to support tourism and hospitality industries right across Western Australia, but in particular here in the hills, the Swan Valley Hills area. Only WA Labor has a vision to continue to grow our economy by targeting these great sectors, continuing to make sure we drive local jobs, and only WA Labor will do what's right for WA. And now I'll hand you over to the Tourism Minister.
Thank you very much, Premier. I think the Premier's outlined a lot of the key initiatives that are. It's a big list, so I won't go through all of them again. But this is a great initiative to support tourism. We know the Swan Valley and the hills are an incredible part of WA, close proximity to the city, and we've seen older venues and newer venues pop up through the Swan Valley and through the through the Perth Hills. We've seen a lot of new value adding. We've seen vineyards, we've seen cideries, we've seen incredible new tourism ventures. This will see the state government really partnering with the Swan Valley, with the Perth Hills, to create new reasons to come into these areas. And there are a number of different initiatives which the Premier outlined. In particular, the Pickering Brook new initiative, creating an adventure trail or an adventure ropes course, or a particular attraction to ensure we can get more people into the hills, and also who can then go and to a winery or somewhere else, a restaurant, to have a good meal. So it's really about making sure we continue to invest in key attractions. In the Swan Valley, we of course want to clean up the Swan River, to want to remove some of the blockages that are preventing boats being able to access the river through the valley, to again make sure we can get more visitation, more tourists through the area. A major new arts trail similar to the Giants of Mandurah, again giving people more reasons to travel and more reasons to visit these incredible areas. So this is a comprehensive package, a lot of new initiatives, all about making sure that we continue to create new attractions in what is a very special part of WA, close proximity to the city, a major draw card for tourists who come to the city just half an hour away, up into the hills, into the valley, and have brand new experiences. And of course, for Western Australians, it's also about making sure we give more reasons for people to holiday in their backyard and to experience what is an incredible natural environment, both in the valley and of course up here in the hills. I'll take questions in a moment, but I'll throw to Angela first.
So the Australian Hotels Association warmly welcomes this announcement from a re-elected Cook Labor government. It reiterates the Labor government's commitment to the tourism and hospitality industry, in particular making it easier by reducing the burden on businesses, but also helping patrons enjoy what they like best, going out and enjoying the great hospitality offerings that Western Australia has. And also I think it's turning Good Friday into a great Friday, and that's an election winner if you ask me.
Any questions?
Boom. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well done. Nice and short.
Any questions?
Can you just talk through that, the liquor changing there? How would that, benefit businesses?
Yeah, so it makes it a business decision rather than a government decision whether or not a business can trade on those 3 public holidays that have previously had restrictions. The increase in small bar capacity means that they can welcome an additional 30 patrons during their operating hours as well. And the removal of the extended trading permits reduces the burden on things like having an alfresco dining permit, being able to operate at later hours on certain days, and it stops them needing to pay for an external consultant to manage some of these applications.
Is that just small bars, isn't it?
No, the extended trading permits are for all licences.
Yep.
The small bars is the increase from 120 up to 150,
Just on those?
just on those small bars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
On the Good Friday.
No, on every day.
Oh, okay.
Every day, yes.
Yeah.
Can you just run through, like Good Friday, so at the moment you have to have a meal. Can you just run us through
Yeah.
what the rules are now and how this has changed?
Yep. So at the moment, in order to go and enjoy your local pub on Good Friday and Anzac Day and Christmas Day, liquor has to be ancillary to a meal. So this restriction means that you can have a nice lunch at home with your family and then go out with your friends and enjoy a pint.
Good work.
Okay. We've been very brief. Now, any questions?
Minister, I just want to so it's 18 million in total?
Yeah, 18 million.
And 12 million just for the Kalamunda region?
Sorry, it's 18 million in total, and $12 million is for the packages for the Swan Valley and also for the Hills region.
Yep.
6 million for the wine export.
Wine export, yep.
Yeah, okay. So what specifically for the Kalamunda region?
Oh, for the Kalamunda area, we've got the Pickering Brook mega mural that's at Victoria Dam. We've got the Soft Adventure Trail attraction, which is in Pickering Brook, and that is, we're going to go out to the market and see whether we can get some ropes courses or a tree climb. They're the types of initiatives. And then in the valley, we've got the Sculpture Trail, and then other things like the cleanup and so forth. But one of the
in the Swan Valley, is it?
Yeah.
Yep.
the other components.
Yep.
Is there any timelines of when you'd like to start these things? Is there a project you're prioritising out of those ones?
Oh, well, we've done some feasibility studies, so we'll be going out to the market, and so we expect these will be able to be completed within the first 2 or 3 years of a re-elected Cook government. We really want to engage with local artists, of course, and make sure that what we produce is owned by the community and then can really be promoted by the community. Look, we've seen the incredible success of the mural painting down in Collie, as the Premier's outlined. We've seen the incredible success of the Giants. So the feedback that I've had from, in particular, the tourism operators throughout the hills, throughout the valley, is we want those types of activities here in the hills. As I said, the hills are going through a transformation as well. What we've seen is more value adding. We've seen a whole range of new tourism operators set up in the hills. Of course, in the valley, we have very established tourism operators, new ventures too. What we have in WA, which is very, very unique, is we have the hills, and of course we've got the valley, and it's in close proximity to the city centre. So what it means is those tourists that come to Perth can take a drive, can come up to the hills, to the Swan Valley, have an incredible day experience, and these are things that we need to continue to support. Having these key attractions, new attractions are a draw card, and then the benefit spills over to the rest of the tourism operators, whether they be wineries, whether they be restaurants, it actually spills over. And so it's about making sure we continually increase the number of new attractions across the Swan Valley and across the hills.
In terms of tourists, how many people are you hoping to get into this area?
Oh, it's a good question. Thousands, I'd say. Look, a couple of things. The feedback that I get, and we've seen, of course, incredible new ventures in the hills, and of course the valley. A couple of key things. We want to make it a week long, a whole week sort of experience. So what we've seen is really good visitation on weekends, but we know tourism operators need to have more visitation. So having these types of experiences would really try and target more midweek visitation and making sure that there's people coming through the door, not only on the weekend but also during the week. So it's about making sure we can get more visitors during the week. And as I said, what we're really, really keen on is making sure that those visitors that come from interstate or overseas, who come for a major event or a major business conference, then come out and experience our beautiful valley and beautiful hills. We are very, very fortunate to have these incredible places at the doorstep of the city, and it's something that we need to continue to work on. And so feedback I've had through the valley, for example, has been the river. Now, we've got an incredible river that goes through the Swan Valley, and we've got a lot of branches. Basically, boats can't go, charter boats or tourist boats can't really use the river. So we need to not turn our back on the river, but embrace the river in the Swan Valley. The other point is, as I said, we've seen what can happen in Collie with the giant mural. We've seen what happened in Mandurah with the giants. We want to replicate that and give people more of a reason to come and visit this unique part of the state.
Have we got the infrastructure in place for people to stay in this area?
Accommodation is continues to be an issue in relation that's widely discussed. I know, for example, in the Swan Valley, people now really moving to saying we need to build more accommodation, and that's been a discussion that has been led by the community. There was a reluctance earlier on in relation to whether we should be supporting more accommodation, but I now know in the Swan Valley proper, there's a big move to try and support more accommodation, because what more accommodation does is support the midweek business, because what it means is tourists come and stay in these unique places and they hang out in these unique places. So there is a greater push for more tourism accommodation, and we're very keen to work with the relevant councils and key proponents, because we've seen some limited new accommodation in the valley, for example, and it's very, very busy as a result, but we really want to make sure we continue to work. And it's been something that's really moved over the past 3 to 4 years, I'd say. Initially, people were reluctant, but I think they're seeing that having accommodation in the valley, in the hills, in the appropriate way, means more people will stay in the region. That means more midweek expenditure and more tourists being in these key areas during the midweek as well as the weekends.
But if there's no accommodation plans yet, once the tourist attractions are built, where will people stay?
Oh, well, they'd stay in the city, and like I said, the benefit about the Perth Hills and the Swan Valley is the proximity to the city. And so that's one of the benefits, and in particular in the valley and up here, 35 minutes away from the city. So this is already, there's a huge opportunity to grow that visitation. And as I said, if the community is willing and the councils are proactive, we're very keen to support new accommodation, and that's something I think people are really starting to look at, to make sure, similar to other parts of the world, that you can get to stay and enjoy the local scenery as well.
On the subject of tourism announcements, I've been asked to ask this. So the UFC deal that was announced, the question is, why are you announcing that today when the deal was struck a long time ago? Was there some kind of election?
No, as we described at our previous announcement, this was a commitment or an agreement that was struck before caretaker. In respect to the announcement, we were guided by UFC and WWE themselves, and so we were not permitted to announce earlier. So this was an agreement, a decision made before caretaker, but the decision to announce, the timing of that decision, was with WWE and UFC.
Do you think that was a good choice, to announce a government commitment rather than a party commitment today?
Oh, well, this is the reality of modern government, is sometimes you make decisions that aren't communicated at that time, and we were guided by WWE and UFC. This is a massive announcement, and I've seen the excitement already on social media, that people are very excited that WA has been able to secure WWE. WA is the home of WWE in Australia, and of course the new UFC content is excited many. So this is a major tourism announcement. As I said, this is just something that happens when you go into caretaker. is that the decision was made before, but the commitment and the announcement was made by the relevant organisations. I think the Premier outlined this was a similar situation that happened previously with Coldplay, where a decision was made, but the communication of that decision is up to the key event holder. And for that example, a decision was made, it was communicated a few months later, similar to this.
Can I just ask, and on a more serious note, but being a female minister, I'm going to ask you this question. So this announcement today, tourism announcement, lots of those today, it comes as we're also seeing the worst domestic violence rates in WA here more than anywhere else in the country. So can you understand that there's sometimes a little bit of an upset at the fact that these sort of serious issues are being overshadowed by ones like this?
I don't think they're being overshadowed, and we've made a record investment into the prevention of family and domestic violence. Look, I can seriously say this. I don't think I've seen any government take the issue of the prevention of family and domestic violence more seriously than this government. Under Premier Cook, we've invested a record amount. As a woman minister, I remember fighting the City of Perth to allow RUA to change their drop-in centre. I had to intervene in a decision that was made by the City of Perth under then Lord Mayor Basil Zemplis to ensure that we could move a drop-in centre into Northbridge. We've taken it so seriously that we've had to intervene in a lot of planning decisions to make sure we can support measures to support the prevention of family and domestic violence. I'll say in relation to refuge beds, we've seen, I think, an extra 70, an extra 80.
73 with 81 in the wing.
73 with another 81 in the wing. We've poured more money into refuges, support services. The new RUA Centre in Northbridge is the first of its kind in the state that we help support. So we've taken it really, really seriously. Really seriously. It's at the forefront of many of our commitments that we've made. But as a government, you have a responsibility to manage a whole wide range of issues, and that includes making sure Western Australians have jobs and opportunities, and supporting tourism is about making sure Western Australian businesses succeed, Western Australians have jobs and opportunities, and those jobs and opportunities are there for all.
So what would you say to women who are watching tonight, who are victims of domestic violence, who are, one of these people that are, the rates are so high, one of these people suffering at the moment? What as a government will you be doing to help them? Because you might be doing a lot now, but it's still not obviously working because we've got such high rates.
Well, we understand there's always more to be done, and that's why we continue to spend funds on supporting more refuges, supporting more community organisations, on supporting places like RUA, making sure that we have new places for women to go to, safe places where women and families can feel safe. I think the figure is over $400 million that we've invested over the last couple of years. We continue to stand by you and support initiatives, and as I've said, we've gone in and made sure that we have supported key decisions like the new RUA drop-in centre, like making sure that we continue to invest in refugees. I'd say there's always more to do, but we have invested a record amount and we have taken this issue so seriously across government.
Just sport is quite brutal. Do you think sport can be quite brutal for UFC, and a lot of young men are watching? Do you think it promotes violence or makes them think it's okay? Do you think this announcement could have been for something else that wasn't fighting?
Oh, look, UFC is a sport in the community. There are many, many sports where people would question whether people get injured, but UFC is a sport that is a professional sport. It's a professional sport, and thousands of Western Australians support that sport. As if there's always questions in relation to a lot of different sports about injury and so forth. But UFC is a professional sport. It's a professional organisation. We have thousands of Western Australians who participate in the sport and support that sport. So this is something that we have supported as a government, and we're really proud to be having 2 new UFC events in this state.
The Liberals are committing money to Albany Hospital today. So how do tourism announcements stack up to essential industries like health? Oh,
well, we've made a major commitment in Albany. We've committed $60 million to almost double the capacity of the Albany Hospital. That's our commitment, that's out there. I think that, are they supporting a business case? Is that correct?
I believe it's $5 million for stage 2 of the hospital.
So we've committed $60 million to nearly double the capacity of Albany Hospital. We are out there committing to hospital upgrades around the state. We are a government that is very focused on supporting our health infrastructure and also making sure we can grow the economy. I'll say one thing, the Liberal Party hasn't talked about the economy. They haven't talked about the finances of the state. What they've tried to do is be negative and play a very small target. They've got no plan for the state, no economic plan for the state. Where are the jobs of the future? Western Australians want good services and they want to be able to have an economic plan for the state. And still, they haven't told us how much their election commitments cost. So I'll say this about their commitment today. It's not worth the paper it's written on. They haven't told us the cost of their commitments. They haven't told us who's undertaking their costings. And they've promised cuts. And they're refusing to tell us where those cuts are. So to go out and make any commitment now without telling us what's the cost of your commitments, where are you cutting? They've said they're going to deliver savings. What are they cutting? They're leaving it to Thursday or Friday to try and sneak through massive cuts across the state.
What are your numbers at the moment, Treasurer? So what yours are at
2.85 billion.
So 2.85 costed by
Treasury. Yep.
What's your estimate for the Libs, please?
6.4 billion is our estimate for the Liberal
And the
Party,
Nats?
and the Nats another over 3.5. So we estimate around $10 billion of commitments from the Liberals and National Party.
Compared to 2.8.
5, yep. Now we know the National Party have submitted their costings to Treasury. They said they'll do that.
Yep.
So we've got the National Party who submitted their costings to Treasury. As I said, for the Liberal Party to be out there, again, making commitments on anything, when they can't even tell you, they can't tell the public how much their commitments actually cost. They're not telling us where their cuts are. So when they were in government, they didn't invest in the prevention of family domestic violence. They didn't invest in our health services. They privatised our health services. They increased taxes and charges. They increased land tax 3 times. So for them to go out and make any promise without telling the public what is their cost of their commitments so far, and also who's verifying their costings, and importantly, where are your cuts? Libby Mettam, tell us, where are you cutting?
Question to the Premier for a moment.
Thanks very much, Deputy Premier. Yeah.
Just the front page story of the West today about this $1 billion
Yeah.
new prison. So, can you just tell me? I mean, what is it? Is it a new? Is there plans for a new hospital?
No,
Sorry,
yeah,
prison.
new prison.
Yeah, sorry.
We do talk
We're
about
still living
beds.
the le-
We
yeah,
do
still
talk about
still
beds,
live
but they're
arena.
different sorts of beds.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
So look,
okay.
yeah. Now look, can I just say, in relation to this, no proposals being put to the government by the Department of Corrections. Obviously, they have to undertake planning and develop ideas about how we will continue to expand our prison estate to the government. But at no point in time so far has that being put to us. Now, obviously, departments will always work on different options because that's what we want as a government. We want different options about what should come or about what we should be backing through our budgetary process. But there's been no plan put to us at this stage.
So, was that the first time you learnt of it?
Yes.
So it's not something that you knew about.
No,
talked about loosely?
No, this is clearly some work that's been done
By corrective
by
services.
corrective services, and that's what they're paid to do, right? They're paid to look at what are the policy options, what advice are they going to give to government. But we're not at that point yet.
Do you think we need a new prison, Premier?
Well, look, I make no apology for locking up, people who like bikies or perpetrators of FDV, but we do need to make sure that our prisons can accommodate the prison population. So it's not the bit of the budget process that you're all excited about, but it is the part of serious government that we do need to make sure that we have enough prisons to accommodate those who are being prosecuted for crimes.
And do you acknowledge that they are overcrowded at the moment?
Well, it's not so much a question of overcrowding, but it is a question of making sure that we develop our prison estate to accommodate the growing population. So from time to time, there will be some prisons that are over muster, but there'll be others that for other reasons, don't have a full capacity. But we do need to expand. It will be a part of what the government does over the next 12 to 24 months.
Can I ask one last question? Oh, okay. No, that's all right. No, that's okay. Stay
Just
with the
wanted to
Premier.
ask,
Yeah,
have
sure.
you been briefed at all about the Chinese sub making its way into WA waters? Is there any concern?
No, I haven't received any briefing in relation to that, and obviously this is, a development which is consistent with what you see at the moment, which is we are in changing geopolitical times. It means that the world is a little bit more uncertain today, and you see that right around the world. So the question for the people of Western Australia is now, who do you trust to manage Western Australia's economy during a time of change and a time of developing geopolitical issues? You need a steady hand at the wheel. You need experienced leadership, and only my WA Labor team has the experience to manage these difficult times so that we can keep our economy strong and we can keep growing WA jobs.
Can we expect to see any more surprise state government announcements before March 8?
Well, the election's not over yet. As I said, we would have loved to have made this announcement about the UFC and WWE earlier, but that's what it is. We'll continue to make sure that we roll out our election commitments right up to the 8th of March. The 8th of March is when around about half the population will be voting, so it's an important date in our political calendar. But people are already voting today. People have been voting since Monday. And the fact that the Liberals have not come out with their election commitment costings or explained how they're going to pay for those commitments is, quite frankly, treating the Western Australian public with contempt. We know that the Shadow Treasurer has plans to cut funding. Is he going to cut funding to health services? Is he going to cut funding to FDV services? Is he going to cut funding to our schools? The Shadow Treasurer has to come clean with the people of Western Australia. They are already voting. They have been voting for the last 5 days. And the Liberal Party are, quite frankly, treating the people of Western Australia with contempt by not revealing their costings or how they're going to pay for them.
But when you were in opposition, you didn't submit yours until 2 days before the election. What's the difference? Isn't it a little bit hypocritical?
No, because what we do nowadays is have a long period of pre-poll in the lead up to any election campaign. Times have changed. The Liberal Party are the only people who aren't changing. Times have changed, and so therefore it is important. If people are in the people are in the polling booths already, they have to come clean and explain how they're going to pay for their election commitments.
Is it time for an independent budget establishment? Something that's independent, perhaps.
Well, we have that. It's called Treasury.
Yep.
It's a group of public servants that are committed to providing honest, independent and courageous advice without fear or favour. And that's why the Labor Party, the WA Labor and the Nationals have submitted our election commitments to the Treasury for independent costing.
Premier, sorry, just asking you again
Sure.
about the domestic violence. What would you say as Premier to victims of domestic violence out there who are frustrated and in danger because of things that are not happening out there?
Well, what I'd do is I'd say thank you for the work that you've done with the government today to make sure that we've grown our significant investment in family domestic violence services. And let me take you through some of those. We have invested over $500 million since 2021 in extra funding for prevention of family and domestic violence measures. That includes new laws around serial offenders for family and domestic violence, new laws around violence restraining orders, new laws to make sure that we can crack down on perpetrators of family and domestic violence. We continue to also put in important measures like growing the number of refuges. 73 beds or units have already been created extra on top of what existed when we came into government, with another 81 in the wings ready to come on stream. In addition to that, we've also worked with the sector to raise the awareness of family and domestic violence. And so people are feeling braver, better supported to come forward with their concerns. In addition to that, we've also been working with the police force, making sure that their procedures and protocols in relation to family domestic violence are changing. So now they're not, rather than sweeping something under the carpet, hoping that the issue would go away, they intervene, they get involved, and they arrest the perpetrators of family domestic violence. So you are seeing an increase in reported activity. In addition to that, we're also making sure that those cops on the front line get better support. We now have a 24/7 support for police officers. Young police officers go into a family and domestic violence situation at 2 a.m, are confronted with a range of issues, very complex social circumstances. So they have the support of a superintendent 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, making sure that they get the appropriate advice so they can undertake and intervene in the best way. Now, we continue to do more, and there will always be more to do. Our coercive control measures around raising awareness around coercive control, which is about our advertising campaign, which we've been doing under the advice from people with lived experience, is about continuing to raise people's awareness. And of course, as you'd anticipate in the future, now we've done this awareness raising work in relation to coercive control, you'll see coercive control laws brought into being in the very near future if we win government. If we don't win government, I don't know what the Liberals' policies are when it comes to FTV. We haven't heard boo from them in relation to these broader issues. All you get from the Liberals is criticism, negativity, and they haven't explained how they'll pay for their promises. Their promises might be paid for by cutting funding to services around family and domestic violence, but we don't know because they won't tell.
Do you think that this announcement is tasteful, though? Do you see, survivors of DV buy tickets and going to fighting events?
Well, look, I think every sensible Western Australian would think that a political party that is seeking to form government would come up with a range of policies. Policies around the economy, policies around health, policies around community services, policies around schooling, policies around supporting people in regional Western Australia. And that's what we've been doing. We've been releasing our policies through this election campaign, and of course it's important that people understand what a government will look like if you elect them. They don't know what the Liberals will look like if they get elected. The Liberals have simply been running a negative show and will not explain how they will pay for their election commitments. And quite frankly, they've already signalled, they've already let the cat out of the bag, that they will pay for their election commitments by cutting funding to other state government services. It's time for them to come clean. What are you going to cut? Whose funding are you going to cut in order to pay for your promises?
We had Libby Medham speaking in Albany today, standing next to candidate Thomas Brough. What do you make of her decision to continue to stand by these candidates that have made headlines and brought controversy? Quite
frankly, the Liberal Party candidates are strange. They're bizarre, they're weird. And in particular, in relation to the Liberal Party candidate for Albany, Libby Medham herself described him as bizarre. And yet she will not intervene as the leader of the Liberal Party and disendorse these candidates. There's a reason for that. Because Basil Zemplis and the clan are in control of her party. She's not in control. And so now you've seen this situation because the clan are running the show. You see people with extreme religious views, homophobes, anti-vaxxers, people who follow white supremacists, ex and One Nation candidates, for goodness sake, and someone who is, by the very definition of it, a dodgy builder. How is it that these people are standing up saying that they're going to represent the community when they don't even reflect the community? And the values that they have, I think, would be, quite frankly, repugnant to many of us. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.